got a very big population of 1.4 billion people. This is an asset for China because Chinese people are very industrious, very clever at adopting, learning about technologies, etc. As the Chinese in Malaysia have shown, and with that huge population, the domestic market is very big and can support industries.
كيف تنظر لمستقبل الصين وقد أصبحت ثاني أقوى اقتصاد في العالم بعد الولايات المتحدة الأمريكية؟
I think in future China will be number one in terms of economy, in terms of technology in the world. It will surpass that of the United States, certainly, because the Chinese have this advantage in having a very big domestic market, and their people belong to a race that has survived 4,000 years of civilization. Their own civilization has lasted more than 4,000 years. I noticed that every country, every new leader of a country seems to be making a pilgrimage to see the President of the United States. But my priorities are quite different. First, of course, I must visit my own neighbors, members of ASEAN. Then I would visit the small countries of the Pacific and of Africa. And then only the Islamic countries, followed by the Commonwealth countries. I did not include America at all in the priorities that I determined.
إدارة جورج بوش ارتكبت كثير من الجرائم بعد 11 من سبتمبر، وتركزت هذه الجرائم كلها ضد المسلمين. أفغانستان، العراق، كثير من دول المنطقة سواء بشكل غير مباشر أو غير مباشر. ما تقييمك لإدارة جورج بوش؟
I think at that time there was no concrete evidence that 9/11 was perpetrated by Arabs. It is a very complex operation involving hijacking 4 planes simultaneously and then flying them against the World Trade Center. This is a very complex operation, and I don't think the American intelligence would not have found it quickly before the attack was mounted. The American intelligence, the CIA, for example, is very well equipped with means to find out any plans that against America, any possible attacks against America.
لديك شكوك إلى الآن في أحداث 11 من سبتمبر ومن يقف وراءه.
I still doubt whether this was something that is planned and executed by some Arab groups or some Arab terrorists, because it is not the kind of attack they could mount. They can blow themselves up, tie a bomb to their body and blow themselves up. But to organize the hijacking of 4 airplanes, to give them, to fly them and then change their direction in order to crash against the Twin Towers, these are very complex operations, and yet they carried it out successfully. And at the same time, we find that the attack on the military Pentagon, for example, the plane completely disappeared. No trace of the plane. Now, when a plane crashes, there will always be a lot of debris left behind. It's the same with a plane that was supposed to crash into some fields in another part of the United States. Again, there was nothing left of the plane. So it is impossible for planes to crash and just disappear completely. So I find that it is not something that I can believe could have happened, because the Americans may put up stories sometimes that are not quite true in order to justify their action.
أنت أشرت في مذكراتك إلى أنكم حينما عقدتم صفقة طائرات F-16 مع الأمريكان فوجئتم بأن الأمريكان نزعوا منها أكواد المصدر وكذلك قدراتها القتالية. ما الذي يبقى من الطائرة إذا انتزع منها أكواد المصدر والقدرات القتالية؟
We cannot program the plane for any for attacks against countries without getting the programming done by Americans. So although the planes are very good in terms of performance, very powerful engines, but we cannot program the plane by ourselves. You have to refer to the United States for doing the program for any raid on foreign countries, for example. So our planes were costly. We have them. We can fly them at air shows, but we cannot use them to fight any other country because we don't get the source code.
هذه معلومة خطيرة جدا. هل معنى ذلك أن كل الدول التي تشتري طائرات F-16 من الولايات المتحدة لا تمنحها إسرائيل الشفرات لقتال دول أخرى إلا التي تحددها الولايات المتحدة؟
I do not know for certain, but the way they treated Malaysia as a buyer of the actually it was the F-18, we find that the planes are only good for air shows, but we cannot program it for, say, attacks against other countries or for any other use. In the case of Bosnia-Herzegovina, we have voiced our opposition to the action taken by European nations. They decided to send in some military force, but those military force were not allowed to take any action. In the case of the massacre of 12,000 people in Srebrenica, the Dutch contingent was there to protect the Muslims. But when the Serb army came there, the Dutch contingent simply moved away and let the Serbs massacre the Muslims. So,
ما تقييمك لرفض الأوروبيين والغربيين بشكل عام تسليح مسلمي البوسنة طوال 3 سنوات من الحرب؟
I think it is ridiculous. And their explanation is that if they supply weapons to the Bosnian, then more people would be killed. By more people, it would mean that the Serbs would be killed because of the weapons supplied to the Bosnian. But it is all right for the Serbs to use their weapons to kill Bosnians. So one should not be supplying weapons to the Serbs, but no weapons to the Bosnian to protect themselves. They are not invading Serbia. They are just fighting in defense of their territory.